Welcome back to the Driveway Beers podcast with Mike and Alex. As always, we appreciate you listening. Please rate us on all the podcast platforms. Like, subscribe, comment, share wherever else you're listening, and enjoy the show. All right, welcome back to another show. We appreciate you coming back as always. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Want to thank Adam Chubbuck with Douglas Realty, TACMD.com. That's TACMD.com. If you are in the real estate market, I highly advise that you give Adam a call. Let him give you his personalized experience in this industry in particular. Buying and selling a home is one of the biggest financial decisions you're going to make in your life, and you want someone who's going to treat your money like it's theirs. So give Adam a call. Go to TACMD.com and set up your appointment with him. I guarantee you that he is going to give you an honest response, even if it means he doesn't get your business right then. I've got Jeremy Conn with me as a special guest. Going to be special guesting more often with us.
Yeah, and I'm brought to you by Big Red. If you don't like Big Red, then F you.
Bringing your own sponsor to the show.
Yes.
I'm surprised it wasn't Blue Chew.
Yeah, well, I've got enough of that. Can I tell you something really funny about this? So I'm going to try to jump on as many shows as I can with you guys. I'd love coming on with you and chatting. But I had people I work with, and I'm not going to name names because people know where I work, obviously,
right.
That like, hey, I got all this Blue Chew. They keep sending me. Do you want it? So I'm passing it out at work like I'm dealing hard-ons. And I'm giving you a boner, and you a boner, and you a boner, like I'm Oprah. So it's kind of funny, but I didn't realize it because I hadn't used, like they kept sending it me for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And I gave expired ones to the guys I work with, so they didn't work.
They expire?
Yeah, and actually a lot quicker than what you'd think.
So, because the pills don't expire.
Yeah.
The blue pills?
Yep.
Get out of here.
Yeah, there's an expiration date on them. You want some?
No, I personally,
look, I'm trying to give all my friends hard ones, so it's like
I use vitamin C, the other one. Yeah. We lovingly call that one with the two hot tubs facing out the mountain range.
Oh yeah,
that commercial.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's vitamin C. I don't know. I hope those don't expire.
Yeah, I'll have to bring some over next time.
Maybe that's why the doctor just.
I'm going to give them out at Halloween. The neighborhood kids,
right?
No, I'm kidding.
That'd be an awkward conversation with the neighbors, wouldn't it? It's like, Mr. Jeremy gave me this blue thing. Oh Jesus, don't get it's not a Jolly Rancher.
No, it's not. You don't want that. I don't know if that that wouldn't go over well. I was just thinking about how much I have at the house, and so I take just enough so I don't roll out of bed at night. You know, that's right. Yeah, it's the way to go.
Kickstand.
Nice.
Yeah, right. So Jeremy's going to be with us as often as he can. It's always good to have him on. He's been on the show almost since we started it. I think you came on with us like 6 months after we even started it. Yeah. And then you came on again. Because we were mostly talking gambling on those shows, and Jeremy is an expert on gambling. If you do want to get in touch with Jeremy does he provides picks as a service. If you would like to get in on that, send us an email and we will forward the information to you.
My website's being built right now as we speak, so should have that in the next couple weeks set up as well.
I like how you do it through Telegram, to be honest.
I do too, but I feel like I need a place to go where they keep track of financials coming in and all that and just make it easier on me. And then there's the weird thing is, like with a lot of gamblers, some people are really old school. Oh, yeah. Like I'm old school, but when I look at what other people, I'm like, man, you got to change a little bit. I'm still writing everything out by hand and scratching out lines and changing things as it goes along. Like there's a stack of papers at my house that you could look at and you're like, well, what day is that from? And I don't know. Because that's just, I do the research every day.
I'll be honest, like when I used to do my gambling before it all became legal in Maryland, I used to do it through a bookie. Mm-hmm. And at first it was just, hey, this is what I want. Cool, you're in the books. Then he did a website because the websites were starting to come online and it just looked like trash.
Yeah.
And I hated doing it because he was a really nice guy. And he would like forgive some bets every now and again, like like the casinos do, right? They give you a freebie here and there or whatever.
Well, they're hoping that you're going to continue. They don't want you to get so down and out that you can't keep playing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, though, like the websites from like DraftKings and FanDuel and I'm sure there's a bunch of others like BetMGM and Caesars and all this other stuff. They were just so well done because they have the money to put into them that eventually it was like I just kind of left the bookie.
Yeah.
But I guess for people my age, like I'm in my 40s, right? But I grew up with the internet. Someone older than me in like their 60s or 70s who didn't kind of grow up with the internet, I'm sure they're still old school.
Yeah, so I have a couple of older guys that they didn't want to sign up for Telegram because they didn't have smartphones. So it made it difficult for them that they preferred getting emails. So that's, the next switch I want to make, because if I can't sit here and text every single person or email every individual that wants it. But if I can get a group thing together and send it from the website, it'd be a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
But it is amazing, like all the things you're talking about, because I've gone through all those paths and I've had the dark days, the good days. I've been, I've had points where I'm chasing down people to collect my money. I've had points where I've been down and out, especially, when I went through my divorce and all that. So, like, it's an interesting thing once you get into it. I would tell people to stay away, but it does look, I love it. It's the biggest highs and the biggest lows you're going to get, though. It's
funny. I see some of the texts. You post texts when people do well, and I see, like, what people are putting on one bet. Like, some of them do, like, 100, some of them do 1,000. I'm someone over here. I do, like, when I bet, it's like $5 a bet.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I've kept too.
Well, I get those too, and some people are like, I don't want to send you that because it seems so small. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If you bet $5 and won 80,
right?
I mean, think about your ROI. Like, it's an incredible number. And I know we're talking gambling here. The one thing that bothers me is so many people want to cash out. Like, I'm seeing stuff online. It's a $10 bet to win 60, and it's like, hey, they're going to pay me 42 now. Should I cash out? It's like, no, man, let it ride and see if you win. It's like. Is that $18 going to change your life?
It's what's funny though, because a buddy of mine, Jared, who's been on the show, when we tested out the New Riff single barrel bourbon, we were talking about that because he had a bet on there, and I did too, and we were like, should we cash this out? Both of them were like $5 bets,
yeah,
right? And the funny was, so I had two of them going. I cashed one out, and let the other one ride. But he let it go.
And look, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with cashing out. Sometimes you got to read what you want to do. You might have two bets going and say, hey, I want to be safe and take this. But from a number standpoint, you're not getting fair value on your dollar for cashing out.
Yeah.
And the only time the casinos offer it, and I don't know if you saw what happened to me last night. Yeah. I had a $100 5-team home run parlay. So I saw the weather was fantastic across the board. And so I bet 5 home runs in a parlay, and the payout was like $130,000. I got 4 of them, and I needed Bobby Witt. He hit one off the wall. It's like, I mean, it just breaks your heart when you think about it. They didn't offer me a cash out after I got 4 because Aaron Judge hit one late.
Oh, yeah.
But, I had Gunner. I did bet Ohtani. He led off with a home run. And then I had Tyler O'Neill from the Red Sox.
Speaking of Bobby Witt Jr., that guy's going to waste his career in Kansas City.
Yeah, he said he wants to win a championship for them.
Well, he might win one, but the thing is, if you play in Kansas City, it's kind of like almost like Mike Trout in L.A. I feel like he's wasted his career there because he didn't play on the East Coast. Everyone talks about that East Coast bias with basketball. There's definitely that with baseball.
Yeah.
Mike Trout, to a non-baseball fan, probably most people haven't heard of him.
Yeah.
But if you mention Aaron Judge on the East Coast, everyone knows who Aaron Judge is because he plays for the Yankees, right? I just feel like Bobby Witt playing in Kansas City is just he could play his whole career there and people are barely going to know.
I mean, I guess we'll wait and see what happens. I think the fun thing was the great debate of in the American League, you're going to have Gunner and Bobby Witt. One of them's not going to start in the All-Star game every year. They're going to be battling for years now. I mean, Gunner's here until 2029 and then hopefully for the rest of his career. But I was telling somebody else this, when you kind of compare the two, like I love Bobby. I love the fact that they're both in smaller markets, and it sounds like Bobby Witt wants to stay there. I don't think Baltimore's going to have a problem building around Gunner and paying other players. I don't know if Kansas City's going to do that in that type of market, and that's why I think you're right. He could waste away there. It's going to depend on a lot, like how they draft. But when people compare those two, the only difference I see in them, because I think they're both great players, is, and I mean this, I think Gunner's pissed off for greatness. I mean, watch when he walks and he's just throwing crap all over the place,
right.
Losing his mind.
He's going to hit a grandma in the front row with the bat. What was it from... what was it?
Happy Gilmore?
Yeah.
Get this thing off of me. By the way, that woman, did you watch Grown Ups, right?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, so the lady that Rob Schneider's dating in Grown Ups,
yes,
the old woman,
yeah.
That's the get this thing off of me lady.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so...
Staying in the big-time sports arena that we're going to talk about, Mike and I have talked about, and by the way, Mike is going to be back next week. He just had a baseball situation arise for tonight.
I thought you said his erection lasted longer than 6 hours, and that's why he wasn't here.
It did. His the vitamin C lasts longer than the Blue Chew.
I see.
The Blue Pill, you're in, you're out. The vitamin C, you can kind of wait it out, then get in, and then get out.
That's right? All right. I don't need a 5-hour energy. I need a 15-second energy.
Well, no. So it only kicks in when you're ready.
Okay.
See, it works different. They said.
Okay.
I'm just. It's one of those things. An experiment. It's kind of like the other drugs.
Yes.
Look. Some people like a sativa. Some people like an indica. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Or you can just grab whatever's there and just throw it all back and see what happens.
I'm going to tell you something about this. So I try to. I don't know what it was. There's no way I've never tried a sativa in my life. Mm-hmm. I may have partaken in things since I was 13, right? There's no shot.
Were you in the Boy Scouts? No.
Well, I was. Well, I didn't get past Weeblos, but that's another story.
I got kicked out for eating all the brownies.
So I don't know what it was about this one particular version I had. Mm-hmm. I had to go to the hospital. I thought I was dying.
Really?
Like, my blood pressure tanked. They had to take me to the hospital in an ambulance.
I'm just trying to think of all the great names from, like, Pineapple Express and Grandma's Boy, like the Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Like, Get Me Home or whatever that is.
Dude, I love Grandma's Boy. That movie is so underrated.
Yes.
But anyway, so that one freaked the shit out of me because, no one wants to go to the hospital. But like they were taking blood work, they were doing CT scans, like they were checking for strokes, they were checking for everything, and I'm just like they checked for a heart attack, strokes, everything came up normal. The doctor comes over after about an hour. She goes, "So, your THC level's a little bit elevated." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I've done this before. This is my first rodeo." But it was the first time I'd had that one. Mm-hmm. And so
was it just stronger, like a higher milligram?
So I don't know milligrams because I'm old school. I deal with the actual.
Oh, you were smoking, not.
Yeah, I deal with the actual.
I was thinking
flower glass bowl. That's my deal, right? Although if my work is listening, I've never done it before in my life. Not that anyone knows where I work, but anyway, for me, I can't move over. Because I get a little paranoid with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, shocker, a smoker gets paranoid, right? But for me, I like what I like. For me, I actually like the act of smoking it. For me, it was always like the social aspect of it, like the puff give with the circle, hanging out with some buddies, smoking some weed, right? For some reason, that just happy memories flutter in my brain with that. So still to this day, like I'll smoke it that way. Could never roll a joint though. Just fat fingers, you know what I'm saying?
So my issue was, trust me, I get that. My wife loves my sausage fingers. Anyway, the point with me was like because I played basketball, I never wanted to smoke. So I always associated. I've never smoked anything in my life. Like I've had a cigar a time or two, but even then, I don't even like that. So I've taken edibles, and since my tolerance has gone up, and I'll tell you this, we were all talking about, I came off my Cymbalta, my depression meds, and they were tapering me off of it, and I probably came off too soon from the last milligram dosage. So I went through this horrible withdrawal. So I'm talking to my psychiatrist about if the Cymbalta masks the way that THC feels in your system, because when I was off the Cymbalta, I started taking THC. Now I'm taking 200, 300 milligrams a night. Okay. That's like, if I were going to buy, like a normal person buying 100 milligrams, 10 pieces, 10 milligrams each, I got to have 40 milligrams at a minimum in mine. And I'll pop 5 of those.
So when you're saying milligrams, for someone like me, I don't know milligrams. I know is it like 2-3 hits of
So 5 milligrams would be like what most people will start off with, sometimes even 2.5. So that'd be like your first time, like, hey, you want 1 hit. But the difference with edibles is they last longer in your system than when you're smoking.
Okay, all right.
And so they'll hit a bit harder. So I started off at 5. The first time I had a 5, I thought I melted in my couch and I was in the movie Get Out, except I was the bad guy, or the good guy. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, like, my tolerance went way up, especially when I started taking depression meds. And when I came off of it, I went to take my 200 milligrams like I normally do, and I was on Queer Street, man. I couldn't figure out what the hell was happening to me.
Did your doctor say that the Cymbalta would like block the reception of the THC?
So my therapist, like, how many doctors do I have? My therapist was telling me that, but she said I can't give you a 100% answer. It's something you're going to have to ask her.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy. So I don't know that that's a fact, but I don't know why I would go from taking, like, I've taken 400 milligrams in a sitting and just been like, okay. Right. And I'm like, man, this doesn't hit me like it used to. Then I came off of it, and then all of a sudden I'm going, wow, I took 80 milligrams and I couldn't even see straight.
So I don't know if I told you. So 4 years ago, I was taken off of Zoloft. So I was on, we thought I was on 25, but apparently I think I was on 50, which is a very low dose. 25 milligrams is for a kid, 50 is for a low dose for an adult. But I was talking with my doctor, and it was my doctor, my general practitioner, that was the one prescribing it, not a therapist or a psychiatrist. And I initially went on it 10, 11 years ago when my daughter first came. And they were calling it postpartum depression at the time.
Yeah.
And I'd stayed on it for about 10 years. No, 8 or 9 years. I'm trying to remember the right timeline. We dropped it down, I think, 25 and then nothing. And then about 4 months later, and it generally takes about 2 to 3 months for it to all get out of your system. So about 4 months later, I was having panic attacks right and left, like uncontrolled, like for no reason. I get a little travel anxiety, but not to the point where I'm like, oh shit, I can't go. Like, Earth is going to explode on me, right? It was that level. Went on a camping trip, little bit of wind. The wind fucked me up. I couldn't even leave the camper. Went back on the Zoloft though, at 25 milligrams. For another year, I was still having issues. They just upped me to 50 like 2 months ago.
Really?
And it's been much better. But the withdrawal thing you were talking about, that's what I was like, yeah. Like, I didn't have those withdrawal systems issues, but mentally, my brain couldn't handle it.
So they took me off of it, what was it? It was on a Friday, and it was through Father's Day. So Father's Day would have been the third day I was off it. And I just felt so weird Saturday and Sunday, and I was talking to my wife, like, I didn't eat dinner. I didn't even really eat lunch. My son on Father's Day got up, and I think I said, man, I don't want to leave the house. And he's like, are you okay? I said, yeah, but I don't want to leave. So I said, can we DoorDash some breakfast? He wanted to, get breakfast for me on Father's Day. So I ate, like, something small, not even a lot. And that's all I ate for 2 days. So I didn't eat Monday. I didn't eat the rest of Sunday. My wife tried to give me some watermelon at night, and I took like one little piece of it, and I ended up throwing it up the next morning. Went to the radio station on Monday, and there's a list of symptoms you can look up, and I asked my doctor, I said, how is it possible that I am constipated and have diarrhea at the same time? And it's just like my body was just attacking itself, man. I don't wish that upon anybody, and if you've ever had to go through any type of withdrawal, holy hell.
That's rough.
Because when you think you're through it, it's like a hamstring injury. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm good. And you go to take off and sprint, and it just pops again. You're going, well, damn. I called work and said, yeah, I'm good to come back tomorrow. Wake up the next day, I'm throwing up all day again, out of nowhere.
Yeah. And Mike and I have talked about some of these mental health drugs. So the SSRIs, the SNRIs, and then you've got the benzos. That's a completely different animal altogether. Those are the super addictive ones. Not an addictive means like your body then needs it, right? Yeah. These, you don't, with the SNRIs and the SSRIs, you don't realize your body needs it until you go off of it because the withdrawal is so bad. Yeah,
so what happened with me is, like, mine in particular was Cymbalta, which it creates serotonin. And so for 3+ years, I've been getting a certain amount that's gone. So we tapered off of it. I was all the way up at 60 milligrams. We went to 40, went to 30. And because I started with 30, we're like, we're going to just take you off of it. And so I'm like, okay, because I was already on Wellbutrin and that went up. So we're thinking maybe, okay, this is going to offset. Oh, no. Oh, no. It made me so sick. And it was so bad, I was sick for 10 days that now I'm back on the Cymbalta at a lower dosage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. We hadn't talked about that. No. But I asked them and said, is this what I should be doing? And they're like, "Are you having vertigo-like symptoms?" I said, "Every effing day." I went for a drive to pick up dog food, and after I got out of PetSmart or Petco, I think it was Petco. I mean, I probably shouldn't have driven home after that.
That was one of the reasons that was another reason we upped my Zoloft from 25 to 50. I would just be driving, and I would kind of like not go full spins, but I was getting disoriented. And I would be able to kind of power through it, but I knew there was something still off. And then I would get out of the car, and in the parking lot, I'd still feel kind of like this a little. Like people, we don't do video, but my head would be kind of like moving a little bit, and I'd almost have to re-steady myself and then go forward. And then I had an issue where we went to New Jersey, and we were driving over the Bay Bridge. We were going that way. And for people that know where we live right near the Bay Bridge, near Annapolis. I had almost a full-blown panic attack going over that bridge. Like, I was like going, like, my breathing was like I had to tell the kids shut up. Like, I was like, everyone shut up. I got to concentrate. We got over the bridge, and it was like it never released. It just was that way.
So it wasn't the bridge; it was just a matter of what was going on, or you think the bridge caused it?
I think the bridge caused it,
and then you couldn't let go.
Right. I think that was it.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, in talking about this more and more, especially on the radio, and even talking about my situation, where I mentioned a few months ago, I was going to kill myself, and when I talked about that on the air, there were so many people that were shocked and surprised about that. But it's kind of interesting because you never know what people are going through. So, like, it's just so easy to be nice to people. And it's something that I've tried to, like, emulate and be better at in my life. Not that I was bad at it, but, like, I'll talk to random strangers and say, "Oh, I like the way that looks," or it compliments somebody. I'm probably seem like a weirdo to them, but, like, you don't know whose day it could affect. And with me and talking about it, I just saw how it would affect the people around me. And I thought it was really important. Like, my therapist saved my life because of some of the things that we went through when I was going through that night and just having one of these awful days.
Well, I think part of other people hearing about this stuff is that when they, and not necessarily that they went through exactly what you did, but, older guys, like, they were always kind of meant to feel like they were broken if they had those thoughts, feelings, whatever. So to hear someone else having those issues or thoughts, it kind of is like, okay, well, I'm not alone in this. But I didn't want to speak out about it and let my buddy know, because I didn't want him to think I was that guy. So to have someone that they listen to almost every day say, "Hey, I've gone through this," and they're like, "Oh shit, I've gone through this too." Maybe it's not so out of the realm of possibility, and that's the comfort it brings to people. And then on top of that, when you were telling people that you do go to a therapist or a psychiatrist or whatever,
I go to both now.
Right. So. But it's like, wait a minute. All right, maybe this is okay, right? And every 3 or so months, Mike and I talk about a mental health episode, and that's when we talk about the stuff we've gone through. Like, Mike had gone to a therapist. He had been on some of these drugs. I have been on these drugs. I've been going to a therapist, and it doesn't matter what triggers it. If you have to go, or if you think, even if you don't know, sometimes it's just good to go and talk to somebody. Just get some shit off your chest. There's no negative and no downside to going.
Yeah, look, and it's so funny. I could sit here and probably talk for the next 40 minutes just about this. And so when I started talking to my therapist, the one thing I started to realize, I didn't realize how effed up my childhood was. And so if I sit here and tell you that I've watched my dad get into 15 different fistfights, I watched him beat up my grandfather. I've watched my mom be in an abusive relationship where the guy beat her up and he was a drug addict and crackhead and he stole all our stuff and we were running around chasing him around. So, like, I've probably seen a lot of things that a kid shouldn't see and gone through some things. But even then, rub some dirt on it and get back out there. That's how we were raised.
Right.
With this, I'm going, what the hell's going wrong with my head? Why am I telling myself I'm worthless? Why do I feel like I'm not good enough? Why do I push people away? All of a sudden, after the pandemic, like, I stopped playing sports, and I think that was kind of my cover where I'm getting, my adrenaline's going and the competitive spirit that I have, and these endorphins are coming along. And once I stopped doing that and I was home more, it's just like I started to fall apart.
Yeah.
And it could happen to anyone. And the weird thing is, like, I just sat with my therapist this past session and talked about my divorce. I did nothing wrong in my first marriage from a standpoint of, and this isn't me here to drag anyone or anything like that, but I was breaking down crying, talking about it. She had me remembering what my kids' faces looked like that day and, what I was eating and all these other things. And I just have tears streaming down my face and I'm going, what the hell's going on? I'm not crying. I can't control it. And she's like, these are repressed memories. And a lot of people don't realize they have them.
Not that we were going to harp on divorce, but so Mike and we have two friends that went through really shit divorces, where we both saw how much it fucked them up. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, like when people hear, divorce, they automatically assume the guy fucked up. Like, it's a stigma in whatever. And I mean, I'm sure it's changing a little bit, but it's still out there, right? And to see what those two went through. Now, one got a full split divorce. The other one, it took about 3 years or so, but it seems like they're putting things back together. But to see what he went through, like people that are friends of those people, they see the emotions that come out. Like the one night when our buddy was sitting on my couch just saying how lonely he was, right? Because he didn't have the kids in the house and he didn't have the wife in the house anymore. He was in the house. It's like, wow, this is devastating. And it was nothing really, it was nothing really of his doing. She just made a decision. The other way was, like, there's going to be a movie about this shit. Like, she made up stories. Cops were called. He goes to jail. Oh, by the way, he's a cop. Mm-hmm. Like, so then he gets put on admin desk duty until that gets adjudicated for 6 to 8 months before he's allowed back on the street. All over some made up bullshit because she was vengeful over. And there was another thing. He was another guy who was, even after it happened, after she said, I want you out, he was like, I still want to make it work because it's my family and my kids, right? So there's a whole episode to do about divorce and how it fucks people up.
I was just going to sit here and say, I'll tell the story about my divorce. I've never told this, and I don't want this to come. My ex-wife and I's relationship is great now, and it couldn't be any better. It's like it was better than when we were together. It's kind of one of those deals. But we were both young, had kids. I was working like 3 jobs. So I'm working the morning show. I'm hosting an evening show. It was a Sunday night. The neighbors are trying to get me to come out and come over across the street. And I'm like, no, I got to get up early. I'm going to go back in, come down. And I see a note on MySpace from a guy up the street to my ex-wife. And here I am, like my brain starts going. I can't control it. Now I'm in the best shape of my life. I had my normal routine, go to work in the morning, go to the gym, pick my kids up from daycare, come home, lay them down for a nap. I would probably take a nap, and then I would drive back into the radio station for my night show. Guy shows up on my front porch, pop him in the face. We're wrestling around in the front yard, throwing punches. His watch scratched my forehead. I'm chasing him around the car, and then the cops pull up. And because he was at my house, he's like, do you want to press charges? And I was like, hell yeah. I was in the moment, like, press charges on his ass. Mm-hmm. Well, that night, and it just to kind of tie it all into one thing, I went to the radio station to host the show when I felt like my life was over. And nobody that listened to that show would have known what was going on except my producer, as I cried my eyes out every commercial break and sucked it up to get back on the air and just deal with it. And the only reason I tell this story, like when you're talking about bad divorces, like things were really bad with my ex-wife and I early on. We had a deal. We had 2 kids. I said, it's fair. You claim one, I'll claim the other. And she went ahead and claimed both of them before me. And because of the debt of going through a divorce and all the things you're in, and I did the stupid thing. I bought a yellow Jeep, and it was like a midlife crisis. Like, hey, I've always wanted a Jeep. I'm buying a brand new one. I don't care. So I'll pay my $550 a month for a car that was just ridiculous. Long story short, man, fall behind in payments. I get let go by WNST, and I'm sitting here juggling. I'm working part-time jobs and trying to make ends meet. I jump over to ESPN over here in 1300, which now is 105.7 and all that. But, at that point in time, I didn't have money, and I was behind on my payments, so I was relying on my tax money to catch up my payments on my car. She stole the tax money, and I got red flagged and bounced back, so I had to go back and do this thing with, I forget who I put my taxes through, and we had to send it all back in. But at that point in time, the next morning I woke up, or a week later, my car was repossessed. So I'm like, now you're affecting me. I can't get back and forth to work. So it's kind of crazy, man. And like when I meet people, and they're like, "I can't believe you talk about this stuff on the air." And I'm like, "Look, I'm unapologetically me. I mean, I grew up white trash. We've talked about all these things, and I mean, I'll talk about anything that anybody wants to talk about, no matter how risque it can be. But I'll give you an honest opinion on it, and that's my life."
Yeah, and that's I mean, no one knows what someone else is going through. It goes back to what you said about just being nice to somebody, because you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah,
and maybe that nice hello or something is something that changes their day. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm an asshole most times. I am what I am. And, am I cognizant of it? Sure. But for me, it's like, I'm nice until someone's an ass to me. Mm-hmm. And then forget it. Then I'm an asshole to someone. And we're 30 minutes in.
We haven't even talked about the topics you want to get to.
Let's get to the top. The topic of it was, it was supposed to be,
we can make that the next one if you want.
Sports parents. No, we'll probably go into sports parent. We'll go into that next week. But it kind of ties in. So like, there's this one sports parent though, where like, I think he doesn't understand what the dynamic is. Like, I like the fact that he helps at practice, but he thinks he's in on the decision making of what we're gonna do at the practice. It's like, bro, but I just need you to hit the balls to the kids. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to like send me hitting drills, like YouTube. So he sends a YouTube video for a hitting drill. I got one practice before a tournament. I'm going to all of a sudden implement this for 12-year-old girls? Like, they're kids. Like, a lot of people don't understand the concept of the KISS method. KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Not too many people just don't keep it simple, right? But this guy, like, he's relentless. It's like, he did it last week, this week. It's like I don't want to tell him to shut the fuck up. But it's like,
you want to tell him that.
But I want him to tell him to shut the fuck up. So I've gotten really good at kind of just stopping people. But like, I do like thank you for your input. Like, it's like the backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks douchebag for sending me this that I didn't ask for. And I don't care what you want.
I think there's points where people kind of overstep, especially when you're donating your time to coach, and other people didn't donate the same amount of time, but they want to tell you how you should do it while you're there. And I don't know if that's a situation like you're dealing with. I had one where, like, a really good friend of mine, we were coaching together, and I brought him in to coach with the team. And he's probably a far better coach than I am. He has his own ways, and I have my own ways. And I like to think I was a good coach. We had some really successful teams. But, like, he was more aggressive than I wanted to be. I wanted to play a certain style, and he wanted to play a certain style. Nothing wrong with either one, but because we were butting heads, he ended up getting his team, and I got mine. But I've also had those parents that sit there and just, hey, man, I want you to create a winning culture here. Well, tell your kid to show up to all the games, and maybe we'll win a few more. All the kids, anytime I was coaching, all the kids played, and some of the parents got really upset with the really good ones, but the other ones were really thankful. And then you don't see how great they can get until a certain age.
I always find it funny. The parents of the better players usually give me the least trouble. Now, probably because the kid's playing, right? But it's the ones that think they know more about the game and how to coach than you.
Yeah.
And it's just like I am not a softball aficionado. I didn't play baseball throughout high school, right? I played another sport, played that through college, but one of the things you kind of, and you either learn this or you don't, it's how to talk to kids, and not in a creepy way. Like, I'm not. Oh,
you want to get some candy in here?
This isn't Omegle, you know what I'm saying? But but like,
welcome to Happy Valley. Oh, sorry.
But you learn, and maybe this is like an old football thing where it's the saying, you tear them down to build them up. Except nowadays, like, I've never been the tear you down portion. Now, during a practice, I will yell, and parents seem to get taken off guard by that, but the kids respond to that. It's not that you're yelling at them to yell at them. You're yelling at them to get them focused back. It's almost like when, like, back in the old days, like if you fell, scraped your knee, and you were hysterically crying about it, old school father ways would slap their kid across the face.
Suck it up.
But it wasn't to do that. It was to get their mind off of the pain so they would stop crying.
Oh, I get what you're saying now.
So a lot of parents...
So you slap your kids?
No.
Oh,
hell no.
sorry.
Yeah, my kids...
You slap other people's kids.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Although not in the way that... No. But so for me, though, I've got kind of a loudish voice that's harsh. So I can kind of like boom it out there and all of a sudden eyes turn, right? For me, that's the equivalent of slapping someone in the face to get them out of the mindset that they're in. It gets them focused. Well, some parents don't appreciate that. They don't like that. Well, what are you going to yell at my kid for? Well, because your kid doesn't stop talking to Eleanor over there, right? I need her to pay attention to this because otherwise on game day, she's going to be a dumbass. Like, you got to get them to pay attention. But at the same time, because they're young ladies, it helps to joke around with them, right? Not inappropriately, but you tell them like,
yeah,
like
you're trying to relate to them in some way.
Well, like even like this, like we got this one picture, and she's in her head all the time. Like she gets really down on herself. So I know the solution to that isn't for me to get down on her. She's already hard enough on herself. My solution to that is to try and get her to forget the last pitch. Like my whole thing is have a short memory, right? If it's a good pitch, forget it. If it's a bad pitch, forget it. The next pitch isn't reliant upon what you just did. And it helps her kind of work through it. Mm-hmm. But you got other girls who think they're the shit. Well, they're not the shit. You know? Not that I'm telling them they're stupid and ugly, but I'm telling them, hey, yo, pay attention. This is what you need to do. Stop thinking that you know what you're doing. But this parent, though, it's like my man's got like, he's trying to send me 7 drills a day. It's like, bro, so if you don't know what you're talking about. Meanwhile, his wife is like, she coaches a club team at a local college. She does know what she's talking about. She doesn't say shit. He does. It's just like, would you please shut the fuck up? And like, it's weird because around here I haven't come across those types of parents when I've coached these kids. Like I coached basically the same team last year. I didn't have any of these issues. It's just this one parent that's new to the team. And it's like, okay, I can understand why coaches don't want to do this. If this is what they're experiencing, I wouldn't want to deal with this shit. Because I got a short temper for that shit. I really do. Like, I've got a short temper for people that chime in without being solution oriented, right? It's like the person at work. They just talk and they talk and they talk. Like they're the one in the meeting that says some random question that makes no sense to what the conversation was, but they do it so that the boss knows that they're in the room.
They get noticed.
Yes, right. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. Like you want to be noticed. You don't want to be smart because if you were smart, you'd shut the fuck up. And like, this is like one of those situations. It's like he's trying to show his worth by doing all this shit in a way. It's like, bro, I don't need to know your worth. You're worth hitting balls at kids. I don't need 8 people trying to help me make a decision.
Well, that becomes, everybody wants to help out at that point, but nobody wants to, like I said, if you're going to donate all that time and put the time and effort in, go ahead. And I've had my situations where I'm watching my son play football or basketball, and I'm going, man, why is he doing that? And I'm looking at myself and saying, well, why don't you do it? And then I went out and I started coaching. And I've had every type of team. I've had the team that had no business being on the court with other players. I've had teams where I knew we were showing up and winning every game in the league we were playing in. That it didn't matter how many kids showed up. I could beat everybody with 5 because we were that much better than them. And that's not like a bragging thing, but you get to see all the sides of it. What it's like to have the score run up on you. What it's like to see how different parents react. The ones that want to win. The ones who kids. I had a kid at travel once. We're in the middle of the game. We have 6 players at travel. And he starts putting his coat on. Like in the second half. And I'm going, where are you going? What are you doing? You cold? He goes, Coach, I got a rec game. And I'm looking at his parents, and I said, man, he's not invited back to the team if you guys are leaving travel games to go back to a rec game. You know, I'll try to work around whatever you guys have, but, like, that ain't happening. Nobody even said anything to me. So you do get that. And whether it's parents that overstep, that want to help out, and then once they start helping out, that arm gets a little bit longer, and they want to start telling you what you should be doing. They want to be involved with this or that. It's crazy, man.
And I feel like the more, the nicer you try to be in the beginning, the more they feel like you actually want their input, so they keep coming back with it. And it's like, wait, man, I was just being nice to you. I don't want all of this information. I don't want all of this from you.
Sometimes it's hard too, man, to like, because you don't want to, it's not a situation, you don't want to overstep. You also don't want to be some jerk to where the situation gets out of hand. But, you got to set some boundaries too in what you want. Because if you're the one that's running the team, it just affects everything. If I've got, let's say you have one message and he has another one, that's going to mess up everything.
Yeah. And the other part, when we were talking about like the mental health stuff, some of that stuff, and I know I shouldn't let it get to me. It hits that aggravation button for me, and it affects other things in my life. And I know I shouldn't let it.
Yeah.
But like the other day when he did it, I'm one of those types of people that I can't let a text message or a message sit if it annoys me, because it'll just keep annoying me until I respond. I'm really, I don't know if it's odd for me or if it's odd for anybody, but I know if I just let it sit and I don't respond to it, it's just going to eat at me until I either tell them something that ends the conversation, or I don't know. I'm not one of those people that needs to win a conversation. But if something bothers me, I can't let it sit.
Yeah. I mean, look, it'll fester. A lot of times, some of these things, they're difficult conversations to have, because you don't want to have. I mean, look, in coaching, I never want to have an argument with a parent. I was coaching high school basketball, and we played Loyola, and it was their JV team, and it's the best JV team I've seen. Mm-hmm. They were just so damn dominant, and dunks. So they could have scored 135 points on us if they wanted to. So they didn't get to 100 points. The coach made an effort to stay under that. But so I started to play all the kids on my bench, and I had one kid that he had a hard time running. He suffered from Crohn's, and he was going through chemo, and he was getting better, but like it stunted his growth a little bit. But I put him in the game, and he touched the ball 3 times and turned it over all 3 times. And I don't take kids out just because they turned the ball over. His mom came up to me and just freaking unloaded on me verbally in front of everyone, calling me all kinds of names, telling me what a horrible person, horrible coach I am. And the one thing she didn't know, which I didn't even want to state, the only reason her son was on the team is because I always give myself and an assistant coach a save. It can't be like family related or whatever. There has to be a kid that you see something in and you think he can be special to give him an opportunity to play with us. Mm-hmm. And that was mine. He was mine. And he got cut from varsity the next year. But it was something that, I never expected somebody to come up and approach me. I'm volunteering my time here. I'm getting paid for high school. It ain't a lot, but you get paid. But 6 days a week, I open up the gym on Saturday, and then you still have parents that come in that know more than you, or like you said, guys that eventually help out that want to help too much.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, like he shows up, but it's just like you can't have 8 people trying to make one decision. It's still too many cooks in the kitchen, right? And it was funny. The guy who helps me coach said that today. He goes, I think after this tournament, we got to have a come to Jesus moment with some of these people. So I don't know. We'll see what happens after this weekend, although it looks like it's going to rain. So we're going to get rain the fuck out, which is great, right? We did all that work for a rain out, and then we don't get another tournament till the end of July. But I wonder, like, the mental health aspect from coaching. Now, I don't coach a regular season. I only do, after the season, I do a tournament team. Yeah. And it's 2 tournaments. And the reason why I do is because, for whatever reason, the softball season ends in June. It's way too early. It's like the first week of June it ends. And I was just like, well, these girls want to keep playing a little bit, so let's get them playing through the summer and whatever. And like I said, all last year, parents were great. I didn't have one problem parent. Well, except for one. But here's the thing. The dad never showed up to practices for this one girl. It was always the mom, and the mom was super nice. We get to the tournament, and this one guy just starts unloading on an ump. Now, I got one rule. Parents don't talk to the umps. Because there's nothing... No ump is going to overturn a call based on some asshole in the stands. Never going to happen. the only thing that's going to happen is he's going to widen his strike zone. Maybe some calls will go against us because they know you're with us. And this guy did it. And I was just like, after the game, I went over and I talked to him. I said, look, if you do that again, your daughter will never play for me again. And of course, he took his daughter and went to travel ball. Mm-hmm. But they're the people like, they went to travel ball and they hate travel ball. Like they don't like the coaches at travel ball. They didn't like the coaches at community ball. Like you're never gonna be happy with them. The funny part is the guy that's giving me shit now, not the same guy, different parent, same thing.
Really?
They didn't like the coaches at community ball. They went to tournament ball, or they went to the travel leagues. They didn't like the travel teams around here. Then they came back to community ball. Gave the guy who's coaching me, he was her coach during the rec season. By the end of the season, this guy wanted to kill him. But we're like, no, but the girl is nice. Like, she's a nice kid.
You don't want to take it out on the child.
Don't want to take it out on the kid. And so when I kind of commented to him, I was like, hey, yeah, this guy's kind of a pain in the butt. And he goes, yeah, by the end of last season, I want to kill him. It's like, you didn't want to bring this up? So
you're just gonna grin and bear it.
But like for me, I don't know if I could take a whole season of that. And I could see how it would play on someone's emotional state too, though. And parents don't realize that hey, you can affect the person who's taking the time to coach your kid. You can affect their mental state by being that asshole, right?
Yeah.
And that's how this ties back into the mental health aspect that we were talking about, and how you just don't know what kind of day that other person is having, right? Like this guy, I think he's completely oblivious. I don't think he realizes that we see him in this light now. I do think there's something a little off with him. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's just this kind of straightforward, blunt. He's not like autistic, but doesn't pick up on cues a lot. Like I think that's his case, but like I don't think he would realize that he's kind of like making like for a couple hours in a day he's driving me nuts. And I can't unstew off of it, right? Until I text back in this thing and be like, "Hey, thanks for this information. Appreciate it. But I think we're good. We don't need any more." And he stopped. But
they started back up again?
I kind of gave him that message yesterday, and then he did it again today, and I had to kind of say the same thing. It's like, no, man, I didn't mean enough for today. I mean enough. Like, stop sending shit.
Yeah.
I don't want it tomorrow. Tomorrow I don't want fielding drills because I didn't use your hitting drills. Just fucking back off. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what he does, but
he'll move his daughter to another team.
He may. But no, I like that. It was a good conversation to have. I appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have you here next week as well.
Hope I can stop by.
But we hope you guys liked hearing Jeremy. Let us know in the comments. Keep him around or kick him out. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Say anyway. Something nasty in the comments.
He's going to stick around. The funny part is because we have no video, nobody watches our YouTube channel.
So they don't know that we're in the nude?
Right. Yeah, they don't know I've got my balls out right now. Although you've been probably staring at my nipples I got the white shirt on. I should have wetted up a little bit for you.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
Could have had
just
the wet
cut
t-shirt
them out.
contest. Yeah.
Eyes up here.
No, although I think the wetness leaves a little to the imagination.
Yeah.
Rather than just cutting it out and just showing everything.
I got it. Tease it a little bit.
Got to tease it out. Want to thank Adam Chubb at TACMD.com, TACMD.com, Douglas Realty. Adam will... he works all over the DMV for the young folks around here, the Maryland, Virginia area, and I think he does DC as well. If he doesn't, I'm sure he'll let us know. He's got quite a few listings in I believe it's Manassas, Virginia. So he's out even western part of DC on the Virginia side. He's got quite a few homes listed around here, although they don't last very long. That's the weird thing with this real estate market right now. Even though interest rates are high, houses do not stay on the market very long. So you definitely need someone that knows the market and knows how to get you in these homes and put in the right bid for these homes. So give Adam a call. Go to TACMD.com. We appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next time.